Welcome back to Independent Blazers. I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe. And welcome, folks. We all hope you had a great Christmas and a great New Year. To all our friends, family, our fans, and the ones that like us and don't. Dan, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about UFOs and past official sightings, including other countries besides the United States. But before we do, Joe, what should we do?
Please like, subscribe, share, bang the notification button. It helps us. It helps you. It helps us in the algorithm. Also, this upcoming year, check us out also on Twitter.
Well, X, formerly known as Twitter, just like...
Yes, you are. You know what? You are right. I stand corrected. X, formerly known as Twitter.
All right. So, Joe, I was wondering, what is your take on UFOs?
Well, I believe there's definitely something out there. We live in a big, massive universe. And you mean to say we're the only ones in this massive universe? I don't believe that at all.
I have a hard time believing that as well. In fact, what I wonder, though, UFOs is abbreviated for unidentified flying objects. Now, what have been apparently been sighted, I don't know if it was high government technology or what, or if it was other forms of life. But I, too, don't think that we're the only forms of life in this universe, because if you look at the size of the Earth compared to the universe, it's not even a speck of dust.
No, I agree. And this is not a new phenomenon. I mean, it's getting, in the past 5 years, it's getting more play. But at least in the United States, the first well-known UFO sighting occurred in 1947. When a businessman, Kenneth Arnold, claimed to see a group of 9 high-speed objects near Mount Rainier in Washington while flying a small plane. And to be fair, since then, there's been some Navy pilots that have reported seeing flying objects. And just in the past 2 years alone, there's been over 454 reports of UFO sightings.
Yes. In fact, two different regimes under Iran have reported UFO sightings and interactions. Both the current one, which is the Islamic Republic, and the previous one, which was the Shah's government. Both armies had made such reports official. And there was another reporting in 1951 during the Korean War. U.S. soldiers had some kind of interaction or encounter with a UFO in North Korea during the war.
Yeah.
It was declassified only a few years ago. And the links to both the one I talked about are in the description below. And I just don't know what to make of it.
There's something there. And actually, I'm sorry, between May 2023 and June 2024, there were 750 reports. 485, occurred between that time, May 2023 and June 2024. While around 272 occurred between 2021 and 2022. So people are reporting this. Now, whether they're true or not, I frankly don't know. An interesting question. Someone asked me, do you believe, have aliens ever been on Earth? What do you think of that question, Dan?
I at least consider the possibility. Now, some people insist they were here, they know exactly what happened, while other people say, no, don't be ridiculous. I'm humble enough to admit I don't know, and I don't rule it out.
Well, according, as of yet, there's no scientific evidence of extraterrestrial life that has been detected, according to scientists. So I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but we don't have the proof yet. And now, again, I know maybe I'm going to go off course, but Dan, I'll stand a little corrected. Some would say these UFOs are demons. Some religious.
Yep. I've heard that one. I've heard religious people say, oh, if they do exist, they must be demons. But I've heard other religious people say, if they exist, they might be angels. They might, in the Bible has a quote where Jesus said, I have other flocks of sheep you don't know about. And some Christians have given the benefit of the doubt and said that could be it. I don't know, but it's beyond me, and
Now,
I will treat it like an objective fact.
what do you think of Area 51? What do you think about it? What do you know about it?
What I know about it, it's a highly secretive military base where even average military people are not allowed and do not have access. You need a special kind of clearance to go there.
Yeah, you need a top secret clearance, high end clearance, obviously top secret. And again, why is Area 51 so secretive to our listeners, maybe outside of America, non-American listeners? It was not, the area was home to test flights of secret new aircraft. That's really, it wasn't for just UFOs like people say. It was advanced aircraft testing where they wanted to try out. The area was, once again, home to test flights of secret new aircraft that moved fast and in different ways than expected. They were trying out advanced aeronautical technology and seeing how with that technology, they were seeing how the aircraft flew with that advanced technology. The Cold War was an era, obviously, of political tension. And of course, there was a lot of movies and TV starting in the late 70s and through the 1980s. E.T. phone, remember E.T. phone home?
Oh, I saw it in the theater at the precious age of 3. I saw it in the theater.
And, so basically, Area 51, it's a training area for the United States Air Force. So it's official. So it is official government land. And, like I said, it's airspace. It's used for military aircraft. Now, conspiracy theorists, other people will think it's different. And look, to be fair, maybe it is. There's a lot of things we learned about the U.S. government decades later, and we're shocked. So look, right. I'm of the opinion nothing surprises me anymore. Dan, what do you have to say?
I'll add this. I'll say that a lot of things that turned out to be that were declassified, turns out, okay. I would have called it a conspiracy theory prior. I would have said, yeah, right. You got to be crazy to believe something like that. But then sure enough, it's right there in black and white, official documents saying, yes, the government, in fact, did do those things. And it kind of sickens me. Some things quite sicken me, but I think anything's possible. And knowing what the government has also deliberately kept from us, common people,
right?
I don't put almost anything past them.
Well, for those of you that want to know and study Area 51 more, the location is located in southern Nevada by Groom Lake. So it's not accessible to the public. So for those of you at home, don't try to sneak in there. Believe me, it will not be a good thing. And it's administered by Edwards Air Force Base. Area 51 is basically ran. They run it, and it's also they run it also out of Southern California. There's people from Edwards Air Force Base. They send a detachment from Southern California to oversee that military base. So, for those of you trying to think you can sneak in, usually if you do, there'll probably be some trouble.
You get turned back. You don't stand a chance, even if you're a common military person. Or, like I once did, have access to military bases. No, you're not getting in. I even contemplated that once when I used to work for MSC and could get on most military bases. But
so, Dan, have you heard any reports of astronauts seeing UFOs?
Astronauts, I'm not really sure. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I've heard of a lot of military reports of different countries, but never astronauts.
No, I've never heard it either. So, and another good question is, does NASA believe in UFOs? I wonder what some of the folks in NASA think about that. Of course, NASA has also played roles in these investigations. They probed into hundreds of UFO sightings. They've assisted in investigation. There's no evidence aliens were behind the unexplained phenomenon. That's according to people in NASA.
Right. Neil deGrasse. This will be my statement for it. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson that said either there are other forms of life out there, or we are all alone in this universe, and both thoughts are equally terrifying.
Yeah. What do you think a UFO looks like? Have you ever heard one being described?
Well, I've seen official photographs in declassified photo from the Navy and all, but they're called flying saucers for a reason. But I've always been a little skeptical about different stories. I mean, I've always been skeptical about how they change shapes over the years. I just don't know.
So here's an interesting fact for the folks who are going to watch this. Where are the most UFOs seen? Where do you think? California emerged as the state with the highest number of UFO sightings, believe it or not. They've reported more than 16,000 more than 16,000 reports from California in the last 29 years. The second most, it was followed by Florida and Washington, which both reported more than 7,000 sightings. When I researched that, they flipped between 2 and 3, Washington and Florida, so people can look at that one for themselves. But California, and a lot of the stuff I looked at, was definitely had the most reported sightings, was in the state of California.
Remember, it used to be Roswell, New Mexico, but apparently one theory says that UFOs and aliens start appearing after humans got nuclear weapon technology. I don't know how true that is, but maybe because they tested it in Roswell, New Mexico, but I really couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so I believe there's something out there. I mean, could it be a religious element? Maybe. Could it be just another form of life? Maybe. The truth is, one thing with science is it's a to be continued. So it evolves over time. For example, like Area 51, the CIA didn't even admit to it existed in 2013. Till 2013.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, not officially. It's like an open secret, of course. So
I didn't even know that the CIA didn't acknowledge it till 2013. The fact that I knew where it was in 2006, that's weird.
Now, there have been UFO sightings in other countries like England, Scotland. Russia's acknowledged it. Other countries do believe in UFOs. Highest rate of belief is India, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. So this phenom is not just a Western phenom. It's an interesting topic. And like I said, really in the United States, they didn't really start talking about it until 1947, right after World War II. So as we go on, as we have access to more and more information, I think this is an incredible topic. Dan, you have anything to add?
My last thought that I can think of, apparently some politicians want to release some classified documents. They want to declassify some classified documents about relating to UFO.
Right. So like I said, the first well-known UFO sighting occurred in 1947. Kenneth Arnold, who was flying an airplane, small plane, he claims to have seen some unidentified objects. That was really the first big report. And what he said, Arnold estimated the speed of these crescent-shaped objects as several thousand miles per hour, and said they moved like saucers skipping on water. That was his description. And the newspaper report that followed, it was mistakenly stated that the object were saucer-shaped, and what he meant they were flying. He meant they were like saucers flying.
Saucers, yeah, like saucers.
Yeah. So 1948, the U.S. Air Force began investigating. Of course, Project Sign was a very famous one for UFO investigations. The initial opinion of those involved in the project was that UFOs are most likely sophisticated Soviet aircraft. Of course, remember, after post-World War II started the Cold War, so between the Soviet and the United States. So they thought, a lot of people, which is understandable, thought it was a Soviet conspiracy.
And people thought it was a U.S. conspiracy that was just...
Or I should say not conspiracy, but Soviet aircraft. So that's what they thought, which I understand.
Yeah. And don't forget, the Soviets were the first ones into space, weren't they?
I believe so. I have to double check that. After Project Sign, then you had another big investigation called Project Grund, which started in 1952. And that investigation, then of course, that went into more inquiries. It turned into Project Blue Book, which was headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. From then, this Project Blue Book investigation went from 1952 to 1969. So that tells you where they compiled reports of more than 12,000 sightings or events, each of which were ultimately classified as identified with unknown astronomical, atmospheric, or artificial human-caused phenomena. So this isn't the first time that UFOs, there is a history behind it, and the government has done some serious investigation. And I'm sure other governments have too. I know England has, Russia's looked into it. But I do know this. It's to be continued. It is a phenomenon. And I don't know about you, Dad, but nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah, pretty much nothing surprises me either.
So,
well, that's all I've got to say for it.
Well, folks, this is just an introduction to UFOs. Again, we hope you. This is just the intro. I'm sure we're going to talk more about this subject in the future. Hopefully, we can get some experts to interview because, I'll be honest with you, folks. I'm an amateur on a lot of this stuff. I don't pretend to know everything, but I do think it's interesting. I do think it's not going away. And as we've seen the past 3 years in the increased reports and increased sightings, I believe this subject's going to be on the front pages for a long, long time. So Dan,
all right, folks.
Go ahead.
Well, folks, remember, like, subscribe, share, bang the notification button and bell, as it helps us. Hopefully it helps you, helps the algorithm for sure. Please follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And in the meantime, what else do they got to grab, Joe?
Grab your independent minds and blaze. Have a great one, folks, wherever you're at in the world.